Korra is one of the most hated individuals in the entire Avatar franchise. Legend of Korra tends to be thought of as weakest of the two Avatar shows produced by Nickelodeon, or at least one of the two by majority of the fans. But I think Legend of Korra is a good show, and Korra is much wonderful character than fans give her credit for. I loved her transformation from loud, aggressive, and punch through problems to a fully realized avatar who acknowledges her past self and doesn't repeat her past mistakes. The introductory phase of her character lays heavy groundwork for psychological conflicts she will face later on. She plays the role of someone who struggles and has to come to terms with her identity. She likes being validated, and this is due to information we are given at the start. A child Korra pushing back against reaction that hasn't happened yet, aggressively showcasing her bending to the visitors, and boldly declaring that she is the Avatar, and they gotta deal with it. One that will cause problems for her bit later on in the show. A fear that she is nothing without her bending. A fear that she is inadequate, and a failed Avatar. When Korra is on screen, she is actually very shallow. Her early characterization can be summed up by saying she wanted to display strength through brute physical force. There was no values, relationship, or choices she defined herself by. She defined herself through bending alone. She was trained to be the Avatar from childhood and subsequently began embracing that as her sole identity. So being a good avatar is the only thing that mattered to her. She was only outstanding at physical elements, earth, water, and fire. She could not airbend. She never had any strong settled sense of self at this point, which is a key here. Throughout early episodes, Korra displayed brute physical force to solve problems, but airbending requires stillness, surrender, looking inward, which is very opposite of Korra's brash, rebellious, and fiercely independent nature. So of course, someone with traits like Korra wouldn't get airbending, and it's entirely realistic for her to not sit and confront herself. When she arrives at Republic City and encounters Triple Fates, she beats them to a pulp to display her superior bending abilities. And she gives an arrogant remark that now they know who she is. The point being, she escalates situation further instead of de-escalating like a mature avatar. She is more than eager to display her bending skills when she gets a chance. Till this point, Korra hasn't thought like an avatar. She hasn't grasped that being avatar isn't all about saving the day by beating people to. She cannot put being an avatar with emotional vulnerability on the same room. She is good at saving the day by dominating bad guys with her bending prowess. She has limited view on what being a good avatar means to her. She is stubborn on top of that, and the result is refusal to learn more than what her gut feeling tells her. However, after finding out that Amon can render benders useless by taking their bending away, she starts to show fear. She realizes that he can take away from her what she deeply holds as something that defines her. Due to Korra having limited identity about herself, she interprets Amon's power as a threat to her very existence. She begins to worry about having to face Amon. She can't picture what she would do if her bending were to be taken away. As soon as she hears Amon's voice on the radio during training, she feels attacked, not by Amon but by herself. She is one in a vulnerable state, unable to deal with fear and concern about having to face him. Korra is absolutely bewildered. She cannot explain to herself what she is if she isn't the avatar anymore. She wants to believe that things will never come to this point, where she would have to experience this disorientation about her identity, but she knows she is wrong. At some point, she would have to face Amon and deal with this one way or another, but she doesn't understand how. To Korra, not being an avatar means being nothing. Here she is completely projecting her own deeply held beliefs into Aman. Her nightmare confirms what she already suspects, that she is nothing without her bending. She is stuck between her self-defined identity and her humanity. I guess you can say that Korra is having an existential crisis. When Korra doesn't strive to understand herself, her place in the world, and why things she holds as precious is so shallow and empty, Aman wins every time by merely existing. When she sees him, pictures him, or hears his voice, she feels attacked. Her mind goes haywire and jumps to the worst possible outcome. By spiraling on this pattern, Korra conditions herself to fail even before the confrontation begins. Korra performs courage to hide from herself and others that she is afraid to lose her bending, because to her that would mean she would be nothing. She begins to perform courage as a way to display confidence, gain trust from the public, and to deny herself and others what she truly feels. When she finds herself questioned by the media about Amon, she challenges him publicly to prove that he holds nothing against her, and she is ready to face him anytime. But of course, it's a facade, designed to escape from her feelings, to eliminate any doubts that people might have about her, and to lie to herself as the dominant one in this situation. Then she tries to prove this. She makes a decision to confront Aman all by herself. She gets warned by Tenzin. He tries to stop her because this is not a good idea. But due to her stubborn nature, she refuses to listen and proceeds anyway. She knows she is not as strong as she is posturing. So to find comfort and to borrow him, she positions herself near Aang's statue, an avatar she wants to be like. It's interesting how hard she wants to convince herself that Aman holds nothing against her. However, after coming in contact with Aman, Korra would never be the same. When Aman nearly takes her bending away, her prior thoughts leave her quickly. Her bravado falls apart. She begins to realize how vulnerable she has been this entire time. Subsequently, she encounters Tenjin and becomes honest with her feelings to him. She admits she was scared this entire time. Her humanity that she was suppressing begins to show. And I really like how Tenjin comforts her after she finally admits the truth. He is validating her by telling her that everyone has some fears and her feelings are not unique. It is shared by others, including himself. He is supportive and encourages Korra to understand herself by making her aware that she is taking the first step. Considering what we know about her so far, it's obvious Korra doesn't like being seen as inadequate. She had doubts about her inadequacy, but she intuitively knows it and doesn't want to admit it. She hated it when Tarlok shoved that down her throat. When Tarlok calls her a half-baked avatar in training and mocks her for her failure at airbending, surprisingly, the girl who always has aggressive comeback has nothing to say. She remains silent because she realizes that's true. Tarlok's word created a roadblock by cutting deep psychologically, leaving her no choice other than to self-reflect and reach a conclusion about how she intuitively sees herself contrasted with what she actually is. And that's exactly what occurs after Korra is forced to self-reflect. Looking up at Aang's statue, now she is there, self-loathing, calling herself the worst avatar ever. I like this moment because it was meant to highlight what she always thought of herself. She always thought of herself as inadequate, but never openly admitted it. But now she finally admits her doubts. We get a glimpse of what she is capable of when she is just a fighter in a ring, focused on the battle, not trying to prove anything to anyone. During the bending match, when she is about to fall from the ring, she moves gracefully, which she felt just a moment ago in her training session. Upon witnessing Korra move like that, Tenzin becomes happy and impressed. The point being, when Korra is not acting brash and the pressure to prove her bending isn't there, the spiritual part of herself that is suppressed deep within her emerges naturally and effortlessly. The skill she displayed here is a clear case that her airbending was never absent. It was only being suffocated by what she thought she had to be. You cannot spiritually connect if your entire sense of self is a performance. You cannot be still if you are terrified of what stillness might reveal. I think she was terrified of what stillness might reveal about her. A bold, hot-headed, and stubborn person not qualified to be an avatar. Little did she know, acknowledging it instead of denying and running away would make her grow and become a good avatar. When what she fears finally happens, her bending being taken away by Aman, she had nothing else left to lose. This whole time she was scared of what it would be like if there was no bending left within her. But when it happens, her doubt doesn't come true. Instead, something shifts within her. The fear she had is no longer there. Now there is nothing left to worry about. No need to perform or announce herself. The fear that locked her airbending is no longer there, and she just airbends effortlessly. I get why people don't like Korra in the first season. She is abrasive, loud, and frustrating to watch. But I think that was the whole point. She was trained to view her worth as conditional on title and performance of power, and she believed it. Her arc early on is about accepting and overcoming this aspect of herself instead of suppressing or running away from it.